Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name's Ancel Cook. I'm an alcoholic. How do y'all like me so far? I have two problems in life. Not only am I an alcoholic, I'm also an Okie. The first three words that an Okie baby learns to say are Mama, Papa, Bakersfield. I want to thank Tom for the clock here. He's got a date tonight. So you told me to be sure that I didn't go all overboard on this thing. Hey, welcome to our new friends. If you feel bad about being an alcoholic and being an AA, you shouldn't. You know that alcoholism is so well accepted nowadays that we're having trouble keeping social climbers out. The disease of alcoholism goes back a long ways. The first recorded alcoholic was Adam. He turned to God and said, "She made me do it." Christopher Columbus, he showed strong alcoholic tendencies because when he left Spain, he didn't know where he was going. He got here, he didn't know where he was. He got back home, he couldn't tell a soul where he'd been. And he did all that by borrowing money off of a woman. You know, God took care of women. I read this in the Bible. It said that it's God's gift to women to complain. I read that in the Bible. It said that Mary rode Joseph's ass all the way to Bethlehem. It's in there, honestly. I would like to. Welcome to the Al-Anons. The first to call it Al-Anon was Ben Franklin's wife. You know, Ben was trying to discover some electricity. He's out trying to get the kite to fly, and his wife sticks her head out the window and says, "Ben, I think you need some more tail." He said, "I wish you'd make up your mind. Last night you told me to go fly a kite." It's a little Oklahoma humor. I'll take that back down to Palos Verdes Valley with me, if you don't mind here. I didn't want to become an alcoholic. Casey said, you know, nobody wants to become an alcoholic. I think I became an alcoholic because one of the friends' benefits of just drinking too much. I'm from a long line of drinkers. I didn't want to be like my daddy. I didn't want to be like my uncle. Back in Oklahoma, when everybody wore guns, my paternal grandfather and his brother, they were all playing poker and they were drinking, and they got into an argument. And my uncle outdrew my grandfather, and he shot and killed him, brother against brother. Had an uncle died an alcoholic death in a veterans hospital in Sulphur, Oklahoma, my Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, he had 3 boys and a daughter, and when he died, none of them were at his bedside, and 2 of them didn't even come to his funeral because they could care less about their drunken father. I have a half-uncle on the program of Alcoholics Anonymous in Fresno, California. He's been sober for over 30 years up there, and I feel reasonably sure that if you can stay sober in Fresno for 30 minutes, this program will work. My daddy was a drinker. My daddy, he wasn't a violent drunk, but he'd get drunk, and he and my mother would get into these hellacious arguments. They'd turn my brother, I had a brother a year and 3 months older than I am. They'd turn to me or Richard, and they'd say, "If we separate, who will you go live with?" That's a hard decision for a child of 6, 7, or 8 years old to make when you love both your parents so very, very much. I'm happy to say my mother and my daddy, they never did separate. They lived together for 57 years till my dad died 9 years ago from cancer. I started drinking when I was about 13 years. I actually drank before, but I believe 13 is kind of an age of recognition. You remember a little bit about it. And I started drinking because I was a poor Okie. You know, I wore Oklahoma brogans. My hair was long. I wore big overalls. It seemed like everybody else had Levi's with the cuffs rolled up 2 or 3 inches. They had pin-overs, nickel and dimes in them. They had crew-cut haircuts. And I thought that was class, and that's the way I wanted to look. These kids seemed to be popular in high school. These kids, everybody liked them, so they drank. I had this idea that if I could just be drinking where they are, not with them, just where they are, I could become one of them by association. The first time that I drank, I got drunk and I went home and laid down in bed, and a strange thing happened there in Ardmore, Oklahoma. My bedroom started going round and round, and I wasn't. I found out a few years later that if I took 1 foot down underneath the cover and stuck it on the floor, I wouldn't get sick. But I up in the bathroom, heaving up my guts, I waking my mother, precious God for my mother. My mother's 83 years old, still lives in the same house we've lived in since I was in the 2nd grade, back in Ardmore, Oklahoma. She came in, and she's my mother's Pentecostal holiness. Mother's mad at Jimmy Swaggart right now. But Jimmy's not at fault. Jimmy misunderstood that lady down there in Indio. Jimmy thought she said she was a Protestant. My mother, she came in, here's her baby boy, dressed with toilet. He was drunk, he was sick, mother was crushed. Mother woke up Daddy. Daddy's not crushed, but Daddy's mad. So Daddy went to the bootlegger. He bought a pint of bourbon. He brought it back home and he made me drink it. See, the logic was, I'm already so sick from drinking bourbon, I'm going to get more sick. In future life, when I get ready to drink, I'll remember how sick that I got, and I won't drink so much. That was the first shale aversion program ever introduced in Oklahoma right there. That kind of therapy today will cost you $30,000 a month. And it worked to a certain degree because I developed a dislike for bourbon. I changed to scotch. I used to invite the girls up in my apartment, a little scotch and sofa. You bet, didn't you? I didn't have a sofa. Boy, were they ever floored. It's a little Oklahoma humor there. I signed up these good-looking girls when I was drinking. They're all good-looking. I can honestly tell you folks tonight that I never went to bed an ugly woman. I woke up with a bunch of them. I'm sure they looked at me and didn't have any prize either, you know. You wake up with a coyote hangover. If you don't know what a coyote hangover is, when you wake up in the morning and you see this thing laying on your arm, you do not wake them up. You chew your arm off and get out of there. If you're a cautious drunk, you chew the other arm off so it'll never happen to you again. You know? I'll turn to somebody who loved to think, my God, who are you? And all the time hoping she wouldn't say the bride. Big smile come across her face. Not a tooth in her head. She'd throw her arm over him, and I looked back in sobriety, and I hoped that was her arm. Last night, you long, tall, lean, lanky, oaky you told everybody I was your Yellow Rose of Texas. Well, if that was the case, I'd never seen anything fade and wilt so fast all my life. My brother Richard took care of me. He'd find me out and I was drunk. Richard took me on the country roads outside of Ardmore, Oklahoma to give me to run me up and down those country roads, to give me some symptoms of sobriety before I went home, because he knew how it hurt my mother and my daddy to see me in that condition. I graduated from high school in 1953 and I went off to college 180 miles away from Ardmore, Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma. I pledged a social fraternity. I made my grades. I was initiated, and I became sociably accepted. You know, that's what I've been striving for all these years, was to be sociably accepted. I graduated from college in 1957. I got my BS degree. I still use it too, I'll tell you. I started teaching school, class in high school in Oklahoma City, teaching speech and drama. Now in Oklahoma you can talk like this and teach speech. I hated school teaching. It was a bad job. I found out that it had sick leave, then it became a good job. And I accumulated sick leave, and I do what any practice alcohol do. I go out and get drunk. So one night I drove the Uptown Pedal, North Walk in Oklahoma City, and 3 of my students came in. I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm drunk, and I'm crying. See, I cried a lot when I got drunk because I used to think that if I would cry a lot when I got drunk, I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom near as often. But that don't work. My students, they took me home. One stayed all night long, stayed and drinking else the rest of the night, stayed made class the next day. But then one semester I decided that school teaching was not for me. The Oklahoma City school system decided the same thing. So I'm here to tell y'all tonight that I am a retired school teacher. No benefits, I'm just retired. I went back to college. I started working on a master's degree. My daddy, he retired from college. He quit sending me money. He said that I should go to work, and I thought manual labor was the president of Mexico. I still do. So I got a job as a disc jockey, my own hometown little radio station there. I was there about 6 weeks, and a TV station down in Texas bought them out. They transferred me to Sherman, Texas as news director of a TV station. Texas, any Texans here? Texas, sure. Sometimes they're mean, you know. Texas is the only state that's mentioned in our big book. As a matter of fact, it's mentioned there twice. They said we seem to have been in a state of confusion. And they said we reached a state of pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. Sherman, Texas is a beautiful aristocratic city in North Texas with 2 problems, 3 of them when I moved down there. Number 1, they're owned by the Methodists. And number 2, the Methodists borrowed the money from the Baptists to buy it. You can't find nothing drinking that town. But 18 miles north in Denison, Texas, those people that live, they have packaged liquor stores, they have beer joints, shuffleboards in them. So I moved to Denison, Texas. I started doing 2 newscasts a day, 6 o'clock news and 10 o'clock news. It became progressively hard for me to do the 10 o'clock news. I do it, but I was subject to sinking spells. They never knew when I might just sink right off underneath the camera, you know. So my boss came to my rescue and said, Ancel, I know what your problem is. I want to help you. You're working too hard. So he took me off 10 o'clock news, put me on 12 noon news. So I was doing 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock news. Well, then I started getting up earlier. And it became progressively hard for me to do the 6 o'clock news. Then again, he came to my rescue. And in the afternoon, for an hour and 45 minutes, there was a kiddie program called Papa Time with Uncle Ancel. 25 kids a day, 5 days a week. Now, old Uncle Ancel, he used to get a little medicated at times. There's a dairy there in southern Oklahoma that sponsored the show, and they didn't like the way that I did their commercials. It seemed like right in the middle, every time I mentioned milk, I had a tendency to throw up, you know. So he wrote the TV station, "Get that drunk off the air or we'll cancel everything we have with you." The mothers wrote the TV station, "Uncle Ancel breathed on my Johnny's hair, and I think he's going to be bald-headed for the rest of his life." So again, my boss came to my rescue, and in the afternoon for an hour and 45 minutes, there was right after the noon news, there was a woman's cooking show, and I ended up as a "Hand me this, Ancel, darling. Hand me this." And the bad part by doing that stuff, see, I was having to eat that stuff she was cooking. So one day Dorothy said, "Ancel, darling, hand me the vanilla extract." And I did. And it was a pint bottle. What Dorothy didn't use, Uncle Ancel did. I took the bottle home and I refilled it with scotch. And I went back out that TV station the next day. I did that show again. I did that show on a daily basis, 5 days a week for 6 years. My boss, he came on one day and said, "You like this show, don't you?" I said, "I love this show." Well, I soon outgrew local television. When Will Rogers moved from the state of Oklahoma to the state of California, he said, "I have improved the IQ of both states." So I came out here to help y'all out. Going to become big-time motion picture actor, movie star. They were a little bit slow in discovering me. 33 years so far. So I do odd jobs. Got a job selling carpeting. Wasn't very successful. Then I got a job selling car. Then I got the perfect job for the practicing alcoholic. I started driving ambulance. Look at all the free oxygen you get. You know, that's how I lost that job. I went out to pick this patient up, and he was having a heart attack. He wanted to use the oxygen. I said, I'm sorry, sir. He said, you don't understand, sir. I said, I'm having a heart attack. I said, sir, I don't think you understand. I've got a headache, and I have to drive this damn thing. At the time they fired me, they're doing a TV series at Universal Studios called Tammy, starring Debbie Watson, Framer Graff, and Deborah Pyle. They're looking for someone to play the part of Orville, Tammy's cousin. So my agent sent me out there, and I read for it, and I got the part, and I signed a 2-year contract doing the Tammy TV series. I started doing some movies, and I started doing some commercials, and I transposed overnight from a poor Okie to a rich Okie. And on page 87 of the Rich Okie's handbook, it says, Rich Okie do not drive Chevrolets. I bought me the biggest Cadillac that one person's authorized to drive all by themselves. On page 99 of Rich Okie's handbook, it says Rich Okie don't have common ordinary mothers and fathers. My daddy, he was a truck driver back home. He became a rich cattleman. Sometimes he was a rich oil man. Sometimes daddy's just rich. My mother, who was a cook in the city schools and worked for 38 years, she became a country club socialite. You know, my mother, she loves me dearly. I talk to my mother 2 or 3 times a week back in Oklahoma there. She loves me. She really, truly does. But if my mother found out today the things that I had said she had done, my mother would kill me and tell the good Lord I died a natural death. Times were getting pretty bad, big-time motion picture actor, movie star. I had plastic surgery. They removed my Bank of America card, MasterCard, Diners Club. I was excommunicated from the phone company. Always getting kicked out of apartments. I was living with a girl in Bel Air, and she kicked me out. You know, that's bad when a girl kicks you out. After all, I was giving her my body. He was younger then. Usually limp, too, you know. Alcohol does not have a great starch value. But I remember her saying something as I was walking out the door that she was damn tired of sleeping in a waterbed and we didn't own one. And all this time I thought it was her. And I just did not say anything about it, you know. I called a fraternity of mine in Rolling Hills. I said, Jim, I got a problem. He said, yeah, I know it. See, Jim knew about my alcoholism because I was the type of drunk who always wanted to commit suicide, but I never did want to die doing it. And if you contemplate suicide and you're not serious, the safest thing that you can do is throw yourself under a parked car. If you contemplate suicide and you're not serious, do not use a gun. Because once you pull the trigger, you have to be mighty fast to dodge that bullet. You should take pills. But the secret to taking pills is you call someone first. I mean, can't you see taking a handful of pills and you call up your rescuer? They're not at home? Call someone first. When you live in a metropolitan area such as we do, you should allow for freeway traffic. And when you know they're there to get you, take a handful of pills so a doctor finds it and pumps out your stomach. But I told him, I said, Jim, don't you think I've got no job, I've got no money, and I've got no place to live? He said, well, come down to our house. So I put everything I had in the back of my Cadillac. It didn't look like a Cadillac. I redesigned it all by myself. People get in my car and say, what kind of car is this, you know? So I moved in, lock, stock, and barrel, Jim, his wife, Sonia. I was conning, cheating, lying, stealing, and still conning my mother and my daddy out of money. And that's where my good friend Tom came in. So, you know, there's very few people that you run into in this program who served you your last drink. I hope is my last drink. But Tom, my good friend back there, I drank at Chatty's in Santa Monica. And 24 years ago, Tom poured me my last scotch. I hope. I haven't had any since then anyway. But I went to Chatty's in Santa Monica, and I left Chatty's. I don't remember leaving Chatty's. I don't even know if it's even Chatty's. Is it Chatty's anymore? I don't know what it is now. But I don't remember leaving. You know, that's no big deal. There are a lot of bars that I don't remember leaving. I don't remember running into a parked car. Gosh, that's no big deal. I was a Champagne parked car in West Hollywood. My neighbors would see me on the street and they'd park miles away and take the bus home. But I ended up in the hospital for observation for concussion, where I sustained a concussion. was in my wallet. See, just prior to going up there, I had conned my mother and my daddy out of $1,000. And when I woke up, I had just a little $300 left out of that $1,000. They called my friend Jim about 5 o'clock in the morning and said, I could go home now. Would he come and get me? Jim, my friend since 1950, my fraternity, we've been buddies since 1953. So I'm in bed. My family's in bed. Will you keep him until we get up? See, Jim was not going to pick me up any longer at my convenience. He took me back to Rolling Hills later on that morning at the age of 35. Life had ended for Ancel Cook. And I tried to say, who is Ancel Cook? You know, they're lies. My whole life was a lie. 35 years, and I could not see going another 35 years the way I had gone 35 years, so I became very suicidal. I was very suicidal, and serious this time. But a moment of clarity came to me, and I turned to Sonia, Jim's wife. I said, Sonia, I'm sick and I need help. That afternoon, Sonia had me locked up in the psychiatric ward at the Harbor General Hospital. When I got out, they put me to a crisis clinic with an alcoholic counselor who kept saying, you should go to AA. Well, not me. See, I know what AA is like. I've got this mental picture of an AA meeting. I know what it is. It's a big round room. Everybody sits around the walls. It's got one light hanging down right down the middle out there. And they sit there. And pretty soon there's somebody who can't take it anymore and says, I need a drink. And everybody will hold him down until that urge passes. I know what AA is like, man. Don't try to tell me. I fought going to AA too. The book tells me no man likes to think he is bodily and mentally different than his fellow, therefore non-alcoholic. So one afternoon session, Mary Jane turned to this hippie-looking drug addict who was drunk, rode a motorcycle. Said, Gene, what are you doing at this meeting? Said, nothing. Said, take this boy to an AA meeting. So they strapped me, a big-time motion picture actor movie star, on the back of a motorcycle, behind a hippie-looking drug addict, and they took me to an AA meeting. You don't hear well when you first come to these meetings because you're so obsessed with what people are saying about you, you know. This good-looking blonde reading chapter 5 said, if you want what we have, well, I wonder what she had. And I was going to go to any lengths to get it, too, I'll guarantee you. They told me that if I would bring my body, there's a possibility that my mind might follow. I came through the doors of AA on March 20th of 1971. I came in here with all the qualifications for being here that night. And since that day to this date, I have met the only requirement for staying here, the desire to stop drinking, that's all. Just the desire. But I had a rough time with AA because there's a lot of things, you know, that they said, don't get emotionally involved your first year of sobriety. My God, I went through 3 alcoholic girls, 2 normal girls, anything stand still. Besides sheep or cattle ranchers back home, ma'am. It's always the same. This time it's true love, you know. Come sundown, we're right off in the sunset on matching palominos. Happy trails to you. But come sundown, there was always someone else on my horse. I was left to clean up the stables. I went to my sponsor after most of it, 2 years on the program of alcohol. Not in it, on it. See, there's a difference being in it and on it. When you're on something, you can fall off of it. When you're in something, it's hard to fall out of it. 2 years on the program of alcohol, being miserable, absolutely miserable. I said, Bob, my sponsor died this last, he's a dear friend, and I, particularly our families all got together this time of year, so I really miss Bob. But anyway, I said, Bob, you know, I've been drinking over a year, Bob, over 2 years, Bob, and there are people who are walking this door today that are feeling better than I am. Bob, I'm miserable. I said, Bob, where are the rewards of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous? Bob said, why don't you work the steps? I said, God, if that'll help, let's do it. Let's take an inventory right now, Bob. Ask me. He said, you have to write it down. I said, Bob, I'm not ashamed to tell you. Just ask me. He said, you have to write it down. I said, how do you get it started? He said, where do you have most problem life? I said, women. He said, well, start there. So the first 35 pages, about 418-page inventory, handwritten too. There's a prayer in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, chapter 5, the prelude to step 3 that I had read, yet never ever seen it. And the paraphrase says, God, relieve me of bondage of self, that I may do thy will, not mine. And that night, with all earnest and sincerity, I could muster his oaky frame of mind. I got down on my hands and my knees. And I asked God to relieve me of the bondage of Ancel Cook, that I could be set free. And just a little bit of work. God, as I understand God, has set me free, because today I'm happy, joyous, and free. The things I sat in bars, dream about doing, today I do. I used to sit in bars, dream about flying an airplane. Well, today I own my own airplane, and I can fly that puppy too. Some people flown with me think differently. Anybody can fly an airplane. It takes a real hero to land it, you know. The most involvements today, I'm most involved with a beautiful young girl, my wife. For the first time in my life, at the age of 38, I got married. For the first time in my life, at the age of 40, I became a father. I've got the most precious 20-year-old daughter you've seen all your life. Being an alcoholic, you know, if you got a good thing going, keep it up. So 17 years ago, last January, the good Lord blessed us with another little girl. So I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old daughter who's never seen their father take a drink. I have a wife of 22 years who's never seen her husband take a drink. And I'm grateful for that. I love my kids tremendously. You know, I smoke Pall Mall cigarettes. Love Pall Mall cigarettes. You smoke 3 packets of Pall Malls a day because I love Pall Mall cigarettes. So we're going down to get Daddy some cigarettes because Daddy is a much nicer person when he has cigarettes. We're walking along. My daughter, beautiful girl, she's just a sweetheart. She says, "Daddy, would you do me a favor?" I said, "Sure. Anything in the world I can do. Whatever I can do it. Whatever. If I can do it, I'll do it. Yeah, what?" She says, "Daddy, would you not smoke anymore?" I said, "What an order. I can't go through with it." I just promised her I'd do anything in the world I could do. That was 14 years ago, last October. I didn't buy any cigarettes that night. I haven't bought any cigarettes or I haven't smoked any cigarettes since that night because I promised my daughters that I'd do the best that I could do. Not that I wanted to quit, I'll guarantee you. Just I promised my daughters I'd do the... See, today I am responsible. Now, I promised Mike I'd be here. Well, I promised I'd be here before, and I was off doing a movie. I had to work for a living every now and then. And then I think I had to cancel and reschedule it, and the church found out I was coming, so they closed down the hall here. So we're here now. But I'm responsible. I was reading this story about this man. He was watching television. He was drinking his beer, and his son came and said, "Daddy," said, "why don't you come outside and play catch with me, Dad?" And the father said, "Well, why don't you come back about 15 minutes, son? About 15. 15 minutes to a child's eternity." He walks away and he comes back, and 15 minutes later he says, "Okay, Dad, let's go play." So the father gets up, he starts out of the room. He remembered his promise, and as he's walking out of the room, he sees this magazine. The magazine's open to a page, shows a picture of the world. So the father, he tore that page out. Then he tore it into a bunch of little bitty pieces, gave it to his son, says, "Son, so let's pretend that this is a jigsaw puzzle. Now I want you to put this puzzle together, and when it's all put together, I want you to bring it back to me, and I promise you, we will go outside and play." The little boy walks away with all these pieces of paper. 5 minutes later, he came back in. He said, "Daddy, here it is. It's all put together." I mean, there was not a piece out of place. His father, he said, "How'd you do that, son?" The little boy looked up and he said, "Well, Daddy, on the other side of that page, there was a picture of a man. And when I put that man together, the world just seemed to fall into place." You see, when God put this man together, my world fell into place. I worked more than I worked in a long, long time. For 5 years, I did Miles Calder Little House on the Prairie. I did all the Black Angus restaurant commercials. I used to herd snow crab down from Alaska, and I roped shrimp, and I just all around athlete, you know. I just tell Tom, I just did a commercial for Lay's potato chips with Vendela and Naomi Campbell and Kathy Ireland, and I was giving them aerobics lessons. That's what it was. BI opens and starts during Rose Bowl, January 1st. It's for baked Lay's potato chips. I'm one of the fours near the afters, I guess. I did when I quit smoking. I did put on a little bit of weight, and my wife told me she's sweet, really a sweetheart. She's very diplomatic. She says, "Son, you're fat." I told Jody, when you've got the kind of equipment that I've got, you should build a shed over it. She thought a shed would have been all right, but I didn't have to build a barn, you know how that goes. Anyway, I was in Mexico working on a picture with Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli and Gene Hackman. The whole time I was there, they made me keep my shirt on so I could tell Burt and I apart. We look a lot alike in a dark room. I went to Alabama and worked on a picture of Jeff Bridges and Sally Fields and Arnold Schwarzenegger called Stay Hungry, and I made Arnold look bad. You know, wherever I go, I go to AA because I need to get in touch with AA because I am an alcoholic. And I was in Birmingham, Alabama. The very first night we went down there, I went to this AA meeting because I want to touch base and find some friends that if I need help out there, they're there. So I went to this AA meeting, girls going to close the meeting in the Lord's Prayer, and I jumped up and I grabbed this old boy's hand. He's about a half head taller than I was. He stood there, you know. Fella, you know, out there in Hollywood, boys might hold boys' hands, but we don't do that down here in Birmingham. Clay County, I'm a versatile actor. You know, I've always played the part of Oklahoma farmers. I don't know why, but I was up in Calgary, Canada last year doing a movie of the week with Wayne Rogers and Earl Holliman, thing called American Harvest, and I broke the mold. I played the part of a Nebraska farmer. Last year I was a new model, a new field. I'm a model. You too could have a body like this if you neglect it. No, honestly, I was a centerfold in the issue of Automotive News. Last year I was in a Peterbilt, that's a truck. Peterbilt calendar. I album covered Kenny Rogers, Spillboard Chevrolets. This all has come to me in sobriety, you know. Things I never dreamed about. All come to me in sobriety. We're very fortunate people in Alcoholics Anonymous because we suffer from disease that's a killer. It's just as deadly as cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. But we've been given a choice on a daily basis contingent upon our spiritual well-being, or whether we will live from our disease or we won't die from our disease. That choice is so freely given to us. My brother Richard, who used to take care of me all, you know, Richard was only 15 months older than I am. But when we got ready for Richard to start school, we didn't have the money to buy my brother glasses, and he needed so badly. And he didn't get to start school. And he and I started school together. And we went through grade school together and junior high school together. And we graduated from high school together. We went to college together. He never drank. Richard used to say, how can you stand that stuff? You know, how could you stand that stuff? But Richard suffered from terminal disease, and at the age of 40, my brother died of cancer. But I lived my disease because you people showed me how to live. Because, you know, on March 20th, 1971, when I walked through the doors of the old Manhattan Beach Club down there, there's a group of people who stuck out their hands to welcome friend. I didn't deserve the friendship, but they were there. You'll find them in rooms like this and clubs where we go throughout this world of ours where people come to you and put their arms around, hey, I love you. Not the kind of love we knew in the bars, but one love for one person for another person. I couldn't return that love. But I think that the greatest thing they gave me on March 20th, 1971, when I walked through the doors of the old Manhattan Beach Club, was they gave me hope. At that point in my life, there was no hope. A. Halsman said in his poem, The Shropshire Lad, it's an ale man. Ale is the thing to drink for the man who's afraid to think. Look into the Peter's pot and see the world as the world is not. And for 21 years, I looked into a Peter's pot and the world was not there. And I almost killed myself trying to belong to it. But today, and for the last 24 plus years, I look at the world as real. And I'm so happy that I didn't kill that Ancel Cook back then. You heard it said around here all the time that you would have killed the wrong person. I'm a far better person than I ever thought that I could be. I'm a good father. You know, today we were down, my kids get into rescuing dogs. I've got 6 dogs at home. If you don't like kids, I got dogs. Boy, do I have dogs. And today, there's a little boy who, UCLA, he's 12 years old, and he is on a dialysis machine. And he's always wanted a little Chinese pug. So today, we got him one. And the pug that had been rescued, we didn't rescue, we rescue pugs. But the one that had been rescued had been set on fire by some kids, the little dog had. And it's the cutest little thing, and the skin's all been grafted back, the hair's all grown back. So here he is with a kidney malfunction, and here's the little kid, the little dog that needs help too, needs love too, and so we've got them together today. Boy, I've got the last dog I rescued, some kids gouged her eye out, and we had her eye put back in, and started taking her down for adoption. I told my wife, I said, "No, we're going to keep her." So I can't afford these being a foster parent for these dogs, because I won't take every one of them. I guarantee you. Well, that's got nothing to do with it. But I'm a far better person than I ever thought I could be. Far better than I am responsible today. I love my kids. I work. That's more than I did in a long time. I'll share my dollar bill, because I know I have a friend who's got to get out of here, and he threatened me, didn't we, Tom, if I'm not through? Had it. I'm going to Oklahoma after emotional involvement, because the emotional involvements could get me back to Oklahoma faster than American Airlines could. Because I had to go home and tell my mother what those girls out there in California had done to her baby boy, you know. So I'm going back to Oklahoma. Bobby, he picked me up, my sponsor. He picked me up about 2 hours before I had to be at the airport. And we're having a cup of coffee at Bob's house, and he said, "How much are drinks in Oklahoma?" I said, "Well, I don't know, Bob. They're 50, 75 cents. I don't know." He said, "If you decide you want to drink, I want to buy your first drink for you." And Bob gave me this dollar bill. He said, "You know, I love you in the fellowship, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I have this great love for you, I want to give you the very best dollar that I've got." I said, "Look at the dollar bill." Well, this is a silver certificate. It's backed by silver. It's not a Federal Reserve note. Bob said, "That's the best dollar that I can give you." So look, the year the dollar, this dollar was minted in 1935. See, that was the year that I was born. But far greater than my birth, that was the year that AA was born. Bob said, "Take the dollar bill over and look on the back side. Right above the 1 on your dollar bill, it's printed, 'In God We Trust.' On this particular series, nowhere is God's name printed on this dollar bill." Bob said, "If you notice, God's name isn't on that dollar bill. Now, if you decide you're going to drink again, you're no longer trusting God to run your life. You're trusting Ancel Cook. If you're not trusting God, then why should his name be on the dollar that will eventually take your life?" He said, "Looking at your right-hand corner, see that pyramid? He's that symbolic of the triangle of Alcoholics Anonymous. Unity, service, recovery, the legacies that we have to look forward to." He said, "Count the layers of bricks it takes to make the pyramid. There are 12 rows of bricks." Bob said, "I can't help but believe that could be the 12 steps to recovery. At the very top, there's a Masonic eye." He says, "As long as you're taking these steps within this framework to the best of your ability, I will promise you one thing, they will always hold true, that you will never, ever, ever be alone. There will always be someone at the top who's looking out for you." Bob gave me this dollar bill, but I had to promise Bob, if I decided I wanted to drink, that I'd use this dollar to buy my first drink with. Still got this dollar bill today, and I'm going to keep this dollar bill too, as long as I can practice the principles of this program and in all my daily affairs, not for an hour and a half at an AA meeting, or not when I'm having coffee with an AA friend, or when I think somebody from AA might be watching. I'll keep the dollar bill as long as I can believe in the simple ABCs of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. A, I am alcoholic, and I cannot manage my own life. B, thus far there has been no human power that has been able to relieve me of my alcoholism. And C, and this has been a great one for me because it was in rooms like this, and with people like you, that this old boy from Ardmore, Oklahoma, was able to find a God who could, and a God who would, just as long as it's asked. Merry Christmas.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.